As we begin our service today, I'm going to ask that we kindly turn off or silence all cell phones or electronic devices. Thank you.
מזמור לדוד, אדוני רואי לא אחסר, בינות דשא ירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינהלני, נפשי ישובב, ינחני במעגלי צדק למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צל מוות, לא אירא רע כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, תשענת בשמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה, אך טוב החסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי. ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
Rabbi David Englander of Congregation Bethel, and together with our Chazan, Elisa Pomerantz-Boro, truly sad honor to help facilitate the service this morning to honor Kim and her life and this wonderful family that she helped to build and mourn with broken hearts her passing from this world. I want to say that left to our own devices, honestly, I think that if it were up to us in terms of what the natural response to Kim's loss might be, I think sitting in silence and crying would be, a pretty reasonable one. Which is why we're grateful, even in these moments, to have a tradition that calls on us to try to formulate something that maybe is just a bit more constructive or productive in these very, very hard moments. And we heard our Chazan chant one of those instructions that allows for a bit of structure in this truly chaotic moment. The reading and chanting of some of the Psalms of the biblical tradition, which touch on themes that are on our minds at this particular moment. And Psalm 23 is most often associated with a Jewish funeral service, probably because it mentions the Gates Salmavet, the valley of the shadow of death, into which mourners begin to travel and through which they begin to pass, starting at the moment of loss and through these funeral services as well. And Psalm 23 also talks about what it means to not feel unnecessarily alone. Describes God as our shepherd. It's an image that is pretty foreign to most of us who haven't really been in the shepherding business, most of us, for some time. But a lot of our ancient ancestors sure knew what that was. And they knew that sheep without a shepherd really were going to wander aimlessly, get lost, and would no longer be part of a flock. And so we turn to God, we turn to faith, we turn to each other, we turn to love, we turn to friendship, we turn to memory, we turn to anything that we can in these moments so that we're not wandering aimlessly, so that we're not sheep without a shepherd. And we pray that this family will know only that you're not alone, no one's alone, as they travel this pathway of mourning and deal with these individual feelings of tremendous loss. We stand with you and try to do so as best as we all can for as long as it's needed. Chazan sang was a psalm of David, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me to lie down in green pastures and leads me beside the still waters. God restores my soul and guides me in straight paths for God's own name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever." One other psalm that describes from a psalmist's perspective what it means to live, leave behind the legacy of a good life is Psalm 15, and hearing the description of a good life by the psalmist, you'll be reminded of some aspects of Kim's life. We read Mizmor David, a psalm of David. Do we deserve to enter God's sanctuary? Can we merit a place in the presence of God? Live with integrity. Do what is right. Speak the truth without deceit. Have no slander upon your tongue. Do no evil to others. Do not mistreat your neighbor. Spurn a contemptible person, but honor those who revere Adonai. Never retract a promise once you make it, even if it brings you harm, and practice all of your business fairly and accept no bribe against the innocent. Make these deeds your own, then shall you stand firm forever. So one of the other opportunities that the rabbis gave us in structuring a funeral service, in addition to turning back to the wisdom of the ages, is to hear from those who knew and loved the one being remembered in ways that are praiseworthy and in ways that help all of us to connect even more deeply to a life that we've come together to honor and remember today. And so Adam and Stephen are both going to be sharing some words, and we'll call on Adam to come on up now.
Good morning. I'd like to begin by thanking everyone for taking the time out of their lives today to come and celebrate Kim. Family and friends were so incredibly important to her. She cherished each and every one of you and all the great memories you made with her. Over the last few days, I've been overwhelmed with the outpouring of emotion from people far and wide, people I haven't heard from in many years, people I don't even know. She certainly left an indelible mark on everyone she met, and that's a legacy that will never be forgotten. Steve asked me to share some words with you all on what it was like growing up with Kim. And while I'm not quite the wordsmith she was, I'll do my best. The Reiser cousins have always had such a close and special bond, so I asked them for a lot of help writing this. There's no end to the wonderful memories I have with my big sister. Growing up, and stories people have sent me have brought so much comfort knowing how big of an impact she had on so many. People have described her with words like kind, funny, caring, smartest person I know, beautiful, compassionate, generous, loving, brave, tenacious, proud, so cool. Always had a big smile on her face, a worthy adversary, professional, supportive, valiant, a good soul, inspirational, and always singing a tune in a perfect pitch. Jen and Kim were the oldest in our crew and set the best example of what a good human being should be and how to have fun along the way. Summers at Grandma Fran and Grandpa Brat's house on the lagoon, endless bike rides, playing Love Boat and dressing up in Grandma's closet and putting makeup on all our cousins, including me, a defenseless toddler. Enormous Christmas Eve gatherings, keeping us entertained when we'd have to wait for what felt like hours in the bedroom for Santa to arrive. Massive family Easter egg hunts, summer barbecues where we would bike and fish and crab off the dock and go on boat rides, and as Allison put it, always dancing around with not a care in the world. Music was a common theme in so many stories I've heard about Kim. She loved music, and she felt the lyrics in her soul. It started young, when she was a baby on my father's knee, and he would sing Jeremiah Was a Bullfrog. I remember dancing around the living room to Sam Cooke's What a Wonderful World It Would Be, on repeat, driving my mother nuts. Going to my first concert in second grade with her and Billy Joel and singing every word to every song and losing our voices along the way. Driving around Seaside Heights with her in her convertible and the top down, blasting Indigo Girls with her cousin Jen. She didn't love every song. Denise would drive her crazy, as siblings are wont to do, by blasting Wake Me Up Before You Go Go. But the music never stopped for Kim, even just a few months ago when we made our yearly trip to see Zach Brown for the 10th time. On Christmas Eve, one year, the antenna snapped in her car. And the only way it would work was to roll down the window and use herself as an antenna and hold her hand where the antenna was. This was before CD players and everything and satellite radio. But she would hold her hand on there in the freezing December cold rain and snow so that we could sing Christmas carols on our way to Grandma and Grandpa's house. But that was Kim. No personal sacrifice was too big for anyone she loved. She'd be there. She'd be there for anyone, anytime, anywhere, with no questions asked, and give you anything you needed. The saying goes, sing like no one's listening, dance like no one's watching. Kim would say that's nuts. Sing like everyone is listening, dance like everyone is watching. Always be your 100% authentic self every day. Let people know the real you. Sorry. Let people know the real you, and they'll love you for it. We'll all miss her dearly every day. I know she's knee-deep in the water, soaking up some sun with Mom and all our loved ones that have left us before. To Jake, Ben, and Sophie, there's no one on this planet she loved more than you three. She instilled the very best parts of her in you. Remember and cherish that every day, and she'll always be with you. If you ever find yourself lost or not sure what to do, think of your mother, what she would do, and it'll always be the kind, compassionate, and right thing to do. Use her as your guiding light in life, and you'll never go wrong. Thank you.
I feel like I'm at my bar mitzvah again. Thank you for all coming today. I think the crowd here is a testament to Kim. So bear with me, please. I'll try not to lose it. I'm sure I will. I worked for an attorney a long time ago now who said, take a lot of deep breaths. So there may be some deep breaths during this. Also, the typeset or the font or whatever you want to call it is really small. So this is my eulogy for Kim. So prior to setting pen to paper, I found and read the eulogy that Kim wrote 12 years ago for her mom's funeral. Her mom, Stephanie, a strong, determined woman of Polish and Irish descent, died of cancer after a considerable battle. She was 64 years old. Kim, also a fiercely independent and strong Polish, Irish, and German woman. You have a little sympathy for me there. She lost her 6-year battle with HER2 positive breast cancer, and she passed away on February 17th. She was only 53 years old. You know, I had never heard of HER2 positive breast cancer, but I learned a lot about it, and I really don't like it. Excuse me. When HER2 cancer spreads unchecked, it's a killer. Just plain and simple. You're not going to live once it metastasizes. Please consider giving to cancer research, whether it's Penn, Abramson Cancer Center, Susan G. Komen, the Jimmy Fund, or whatever you choose. If we can't eradicate it, at least we can come up with treatments that are more humane for the patient. Anyway, that's my solicitation. Now a bit about Kim, who I met in federal district court in Trenton, New Jersey, of all places, back in 2000. No, I'm sorry, March of 1999. Oh man, she's mad at me now. Wow. In fact, she would want me to know the exact date. She did give me a lot of crap over the years, but she was my beloved partner for 24 years and helped me immeasurably grow as a person. I know that sounds corny. Kim held us all, Sophie, Jacob, Benjamin, myself, and people that she knew, to a higher standard. Yet she held us accountable. And I know, you know, it does sound corny, but I'm a better person now for that. Took me a long time to sort of understand what she meant. But I think now I do. Sometimes Kim would come home from work and tell me that she called so-and-so out on their BS today. And I would laugh and I would ask her, so how did that go for you? Her response cannot be repeated here. But, you know, suffice it to say that somewhere in a diner, there's a bunch of truckers and they're all cringing. So we had coffee at the courthouse on that dreary March day. We agreed to meet for dinner. We met for dinner in Roxborough at some long-gone trendy restaurant. And we used to laugh over the years because there was a waiter tending to the table next to ours, and he kept bending over and his butt was in my face. We had a lot of laughs over the years. Kim had a sardonic sense of humor. She loved to be sarcastic, but she was frequently silly too. She and her brother Adam, well, they loved Billy Joel, and the Zac Brown Band, attending concerts together over the years. Even when she was sick and barely able to walk, when the cancer had attacked her leg, she went to the concert with Adam and Kristen, and they helped her get into the venue and out. She never gave up on anyone or herself. She fought cancer to the very end. In October of 2000, Kim and I married, and Jacob was born a year later. I told you this is hard to read. What can I say? And we lived happily with Jake and 2 cats, Dokken and Mishka, and as JV would call him, Berserkly, our dog, who lived for 15 years and was one of Kim's loves. We lived in Haddon Township, and Kim took a job with a local matrimonial firm where she worked, for the most part, for 20 years. Kim was not an adversary that you would want to upset. She was meticulous in her preparation of a case. She would prepare her arguments for trial by handwriting her opening, direct cross-examination on index cards. And when I mean index cards, there were hundreds of index cards. I said to her, you know, they have laptops for that type of thing. But Kim was old school. If you tried to bully her little sister, Kim was going to make you pay. That's for sure. And that's what amazed me about Kim. She was beautiful, but she was street tough when she needed to be. The kids remember the white index cards. Kim wrote them out as study aids for them, quizzing them over and over until the subject matter sunk in. And when they stumbled, I remember her telling them that they obviously did not spend enough time reviewing the study material. Kim would send them back. They'd study more. She'd stay up late, do what it took to get them through. And only recently, the index cards came back once again. Kim wrote out all of her mom's recipes for herself. Her mom was a great cook. Kim was a good cook. We were the beneficiaries. If you did not know, Kim was a crafter extraordinaire. Only Kim could make a dinosaur costume for a golden retriever puppy. In fact, she was so skilled at crafting that she successfully sold her wares at craft shows and on the internet. She designed clothing, she made pillows, wreaths. She even made these, I guess they call them cornhole boards, for the Rutgers, Michigan games. I mean, really, these things were works of art. They had the Rutgers insignia, they had the Michigan U of M painted on them. We had a lot of good times at doing tailgates and going to East Brunswick and Ann Arbor, except for 2014, when we lost by 2 points to Rutgers. Kim and Adam loved it. Me, not so much. If you didn't know, Kim was equally adept at baking. In my humble opinion, her baking was unparalleled. I mean, truly, she made some mean-ass rugula. It was so good. Caramelized base, buttery crusts layered with apricots, raspberry jam, raisins and cinnamon. I'm going to miss those, but I'll miss her dedication to our family the most. Even at her worst, when she could barely stand up, Kim hobbled into the kitchen over winter break this year for the kids, and she cooked them dinner, propping herself up on the counter. Excuse me. See, what happens is you cry and then your glasses fog up. Sorry. She wouldn't let me make the dinner. She wouldn't let me order the dinner. She wouldn't, God forbid I should make dinner. She wanted to make the dinner, and that's who she was. She relished her alone time. We couldn't find her. You often couldn't find her. She'd be up on the third floor, sequestered up there, reading a book. She loved to read. She was a voracious reader. We have all of her books on the bookshelves, probably none of which any of us have read, but we will. It made Mother's Day easy. We'd order the Book of the Month Club for her, and she'd be happy and set for a year. Thank you, Kim. In 2005, Benjamin arrived. In that year, we bought a home in Sanibel Island, Florida, right across from the beach. Kim actually had a nervous breakdown, I think, decorating that house. But it really came out wonderful. Another forte of hers. We had such fond memories of our times there, although we only got to use it in late August and September because we rented it, so we got the crappiest months, and I can still hear her saying to me, "We bought this house, and we never get to use it except in the worst times of the year. What the F?" We'll miss it. We had a lot of great adventures down there. Kim was allergic to bug bites and stings. There was quite a scene in a patisserie in Paris when a bee stung her while she was eating her favorite macaron. And she did remind me frequently that it's macaron. It's not macaroon. And Adam touched on this, but if you didn't know, Kim had a wonderful voice. She could have been a lead vocalist. She could have pursued that career, but she chose law. Kim was raised close to the beach and was every bit the beach girl growing up, frequenting LBI near her home in Bayville. As a family, we spent many summers on the beaches of Avalon and Stone Harbor. I think this is where Kim was the happiest, alone on the beach with the sun setting, reading her book while listening to the backdrop of the waves. We also spent many weekends in Bayville at Grampy Risers. Grampy would fire up the grill, and the kids had the best time. Kim always used to say Grampy had the best diet, the Triple H diet, hamburgers, Heinekens, and hot dogs. I think maybe there was bologna and liverwurst in there too. The kids just had a blast with Grampy, horsey rides when they were tiny, riding on the boat in Florida, fishing, swimming in the lake in Bayville, swimming in the pool in Bayville, swimming in the pool in Florida. Kim adored her dad, even when they disagreed on things, but her dad gave me the best advice before Kim and I married. He said, "You know, you are never going to be right about anything." And that was sage advice. You were 100% accurate. She hated when I tell that story. She hates when I tell that story. Kim was also at peace in the mountains, but not always in the mountains. Kim introduced Jake and I to skiing in 2008. Kim grew up skiing with her family in the Poconos in Vermont. She was, like everything else, she was a disciplined skier, but she did not have the patience of a saint at 7 a.m. to get the kids out for their ski lessons. That started to fall on me. Many ski trips later to all kinds of cool places like Whistler, Lake Louise, Vail, Deer Valley, Kitzbühel, Lake Tahoe. Those incredible memories will be with us forever. I still remember this vividly, trying to get Jake when he was 6 years old down a mogul run in a blizzard in Austria. And I was already at the bottom, looking up and laughing. I was concerned, but I was laughing. And Jake, she took your skis. Why would I cry to this? She took your skis, and she gently nudged you down all the way on your butt. That was Kim. That wasn't me. I skied down. So 3 times a week for 4 years, Kim dutifully went for treatment at the Perlman Center at Penn. With some pretty harsh meds, she beat the cancer back, but it truly never went away. Her oncologist said she was amazed after a year of the treatment how Kim's liver looked. It was almost gone, really. but it really doesn't go away, as I said. The effects of the treatment on Kim were harsh. When she was first diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, she lost part of her left femur, upper femur. They replaced it. Airports were interesting. And her hip. The cancer also was in her back, and yet she dealt with it. She had a wobbly gait, poor lymphatic drainage. Her feet ached constantly from neuropathy, which is shooting pain. She would wake up in the middle of the night with leg cramps, screaming. Her hair fell out. The nausea was persistent and debilitating. But she never gave up. Sometimes she would literally drag herself to the treatments at Penn alone when I wasn't there. She would spend the entirety of the week after treating hurting, and then she would finally begin to feel a bit better about 2 weeks out, and then she'd have to go back again. But she went faithfully because she wanted to be here for you guys and all of you. Kim loved to travel, and we were fortunate over the years to experience together and with the family trips to some pretty cool places. The Rockies, Canada, Europe, Mexico, even Asia. Kim would plan the trips, as she always did, with every detail, and then I would bring up things and screw it all up. Two summers ago, I took a 2-week trip to France and Italy with Kim. On the drive from Nice to Lake Como, we got lost. We took a wrong turn, we missed the highway, and we ended up on a single-lane road climbing up to the top of a mountain at its peak of 8,000 feet. The drive down was a single-lane road. It was 15 miles with no guardrail on either side and occasional oncoming traffic. Kim was an excellent driver. The kids know she loved to drive. But it scared the heck out of us. And when we reached the bottom, I took my glued hand off of the armrest, and I looked at her and I smiled, and she just had this look of total satisfaction on her face. She was so pleased with herself. It was great. In 2010, we had a new surprise. Sophie was born, and that completed our family. Kim and I were so thrilled to have a little girl, and we enjoyed everything about her except the diapers. Kim would read all of the kids' books. It's a testament to their mastery of the English language, math maybe not so much. But she would read books to them over and over again. She would take shopping trips with Sophie to the mall. She would help Sophie craft, learn how to bake. And also one habit that I'm not fond of, junk food. Kim was a little bit of a closet junk food connoisseur. And I don't mean McDonald's or Burger King. The problem was that you would find a package of Oreos that Kim had eaten. She would eat one, maybe two. And then she would hide it somewhere. And then you'd find it a year later. In 2016, Kim bought a huge old house across from Tavistock. I soon joined her, and we spent 2 years renovating the house. Kim designed the kitchen, basement, landscaping, and oversaw all of the projects. The result is truly a tribute to her talents. She loved that house, and she wanted to be there longer, she told me. All right, almost there. Tough part. We lost Kim too soon. She had a lot more to give to this world. In the end, we were resigned to losing her, but we did take comfort that she was no longer in pain and suffering. The pain had become constant and too much for her to bear. The last months of Kim's life I took care of her with a whole lot of help from Cousin Jen. I don't know, where's Cousin Jen? Oh, there's Cousin Jen. And others. Thank you to Kim's sister Denise and brother Adam for all of their help and thoughts and prayers when we needed them. Thanks to my sister for her loving kindness, and my brother, and my mom, and my dad who couldn't be here today. I'm sorry, he's sick. Thanks to Joyce McDonald, wherever, there she is, who was an angel on a night that we needed it. Thanks to the home care nurse who came to our house a few weeks ago and fell asleep, and Kim had to wake her up. Thanks to all of the doctors, nurses, assistants, helpers, and everyone at Penn who always treated Kim with dignity and respect and kindness. My final months with Kim brought us closer than we had been in many years, and I'll remember that for the rest of my life. It was tough to watch her disintegrate before our eyes, but we know now she's in a better place, at peace, no longer in pain. Rest in peace, and God bless.
Sure, it's on behalf of everyone that I really do thank Adam and Steve for finding the strength to organize those thoughts and the courage to share them in the service today. You shared with me that if it were up to Kim, that probably even these words of praise and admiration, certainly these services may not have been deemed necessary. She didn't need the praise, she didn't need the fanfare, and she worried most of all that that it might be difficult for you to be a part of all of this, and it might be difficult to hear all these words, let alone to try to find the strength to say them. And simply put, making your lives any harder was not anything that she ever sought to do. But she did wind up, from what you shared, being okay with going ahead with these rites and rituals. And I think that's in part because she intuited something that our Jewish tradition teaches, which is that a funeral is for the one who has passed from this world, but a funeral is also for those who remain. Funeral, memorial service, whatever you'd like to call it, is a chance to do what Abraham did for Sarah when she died, which the Torah tells us was to offer words of hesped, of loving affirmation of the impact of a person's passes through this world, and also, as the Torah says, v'liv kota, to shed tears of sadness over a life that has ended. And today we certainly all acknowledge that by any measure, Kim's journey has ended too soon, with much accomplished, and yet also much that by all reasonable measures she should have had more time to pursue, see and witness and experience and enjoy. We are all deeply saddened, and I dare say we are all deeply shaken by her loss, and we pray that you will all feel the loving support of family and friends now and always. There are two things that I've found that may help us to put one foot in front of the other when it can feel like even that is an incredibly hard thing to do. The first, and I think Adam referred to this idea, and I'm appreciative that he did, is that we can hear the voices of our loved ones telling us to try to be happy for what we had more than we are sad for what we did not. Their voices encourage us, remind us, and sometimes even insist that we push ahead with our lives. They give us permission to mourn, but they deny permission for mourning to sidetrack us in what we know on all levels they would want for us, what we know that Kim would want for you, which is to learn and grow, strive and achieve, to lean on and to be there for each other, and especially to love and to be loved. And the second is that we would not trade the chance to have had those we love in our lives if the price of that trade was to never have had them in our lives at all. In a totally unwelcome way, we affirm that love is stronger than the pain that love can sometimes lead to. The Jewish tradition also teaches that love is stronger than death, and each of you will prove in your own way that this is true as well. Because even though illness has taken Kim's physical presence in this world from you, her love will be with you every single moment and remain a force in you for your whole lives. There's an expression that I first heard in connection to how someone naturally swings a golf club. Bear with me. If someone lives in a very outgoing, boisterous, and extroverted way, it's likely that their swing will reflect that. Kind of all over the place, lots of exertion, but if they're skilled, all that will get the club head to the ball anyway. And if someone lives in a more reserved way, preferring self-control and perhaps exuding a more subdued personality, their swing will also be quieter and structured, and it will reflect these personality traits as well. And so the expression I heard is, how you do anything is how you do everything. And that occurred to me as we spoke about Kim's life, that this phrase perhaps represented her pretty well also. How she did anything was how she did everything, with extraordinary effort that resulted in something approaching perfection in most, if not all, of her pursuits. It was true in her work in a difficult area of the law where she often encountered and helped people manage very stressful challenges. It was true in the crafts she fabricated and kept, gave away, or sold. The highest and most creative quality. It was true in her baking. It was true as she carved turns down the side of a mountain, the skier the rest of us look at and admiringly say, why can't I do that? It was true as all that was to be enjoyed in peaceful weeks at the shore, a favored spot for much of her life. So those moments were experienced with you. It was true in the renovation of her last home, the one where she only wanted more time with you and where you could still envision her doing some of the things that will always come to mind in that space that she helped to create. In that, well, today and tomorrow there'll be sadness. We hope eventually these memories too will bring a smile and even laughter as you remember her. And it was also true in her pursuit of the affiliation with Jewish community and tradition that she sought, delving into its ideas and values and ensuring that the family would celebrate holidays and 2 bar mitzvahs and 1 bat mitzvah, all of which our chazan facilitated, and the last of which I was privileged to celebrate with one of my Thursday night all-stars. All brought pride to family and also to our community. And I do pray that the multiple faith traditions represented here today will provide a sense of enveloping support, affirmation, and the motivating power of memory, and certainty of an idea that is much easier to say than it is to accept, which is our shared idea that our lives are measured not principally by the number of our days on this earth, but instead by what we do with them. Not how many we can count, but how we make the days we are given count. And by that measure, unfair and unexplainable and impossibly difficult to accept in many ways, Kim's too brief life was also a shining example of how to make the most of one's days. How to find strength to push back against difficulty and to love with a fullness of heart which does not pass from this world but is carried forward by everyone who experienced it, by everyone who is blessed to have Kim in their lives. So I offer the condolences of the entire Bethel community to all those whose world has been darkened by the shadow of the loss of Kim Packman. We stand today especially with Steve, whose journey with Kim goes back to that chance courthouse meeting in March of 1999, which would lead to everything that would follow, to these grown and these growing kids, to Jacob, Ben, and Sophie, who have been honoring their mother by living their fullest lives while also supporting and being with her and being there for each other. No one really has the words to make any of this much better other than to say that your mom loved you endlessly, and that love has now taken a different form, but is still with you and will always be. You listen to her voice and allow it to encourage you to live full, meaningful, and accomplished lives in ways that would meet her expectations and in ways that would make her proud. You will all be loved, encouraged, and supported by many who are here and by all who loved and who appreciated your mother. We're all with you, and we're truly sorry for your profound loss. And to Tom, I know your life has had more than its share of difficult loss, so we stand with you today, as does this circle of family and friends. May you once again find the strength you need to persevere today. And in the days to come, may they know increased joy and contain happiness that eludes us in this very hard moment. To Denise and Justin, Adam and Kristen, Gabrielle and Colin, who say goodbye to a beloved sister and aunt who you loved and appreciated and who loved you too. Family again recognizes and grateful to and for Kim's cousin, Jen Dawson, who also went above and beyond for and with Kim and did so again and again. It will be up to each of us to shine as much of Kim's characteristic kindness, dedication, perseverance, strength, drive, and especially love into a world that needs such positive energy now as much as ever. May the soul of Kimberly Packman be bound up in the bond of eternal life. May she rest in peace. And we say, Amen. I want to note that the interment will be for family only and be done privately, and I know that we'll all respect these wishes. Later this afternoon, the family will return home to 614 Warwick Road for Shiva, where visits are welcome, and there'll be a service there in the home tonight at 7 o'clock p.m. Tomorrow, visitation is welcome from 5 to 7 p.m., and there will be a service at 6 o'clock p.m. For the traditional El Maleh memorial prayer, those comfortably able to do so, I invite you to please rise.
El Maleh Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hametzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanefei HaShechina, B'malot Kedoshim Tehorim, Kezohar Arakia Mazehirim, Et Nishmat Chaya Bat Avraham Vesara, Shehalcha Le'olama, Began Eden Tehei Menuchata, Anal Bararachamim, Tasdireha Beseter Knafecha Le'olamim, V'titzra Bitzra HaChaim Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachalata, V'tanuach b'shalom hamishkava, v'nomar Amen.
Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure. The soul of Chaya Bat Avram V'Sarah, Kimberly Packman, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful one, we ask their loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound in the bond of life. May she rest in peace. And we say, Amen. invite you to be seated for a moment, please.